Welcome to this video lecture on the topic of technology and innovation management. This video lecture is brief because it only will recap the material that we discussed in the first session that we met. We talked about examples for how, when, and why digital innovations force us to rethink establishment management knowledge, so the way that firms can deal with technology and with innovation because of advances in digital technologies. The examples that we discussed were new forms of art, digital paintings, for example, digital music streaming, and thereby the implicated new ways of managing media products. We talked about a new principles such as digital first developments in products. The case study we looked at was the hack rod, a car that was invented by two people that were not from the car manufacturing industry, but that used a lot of different algorithmic and artificial intelligence tools to produce an actual car. We discussed how digital innovations over time change the trajectory of how shopping works, with the example of GS Shop that moved from cable television shopping to internet online shopping to mobile shopping and was differently successful in these different eras. We also gave examples of what is called industry convergence. So the movement of digital native companies from one industry sector into a completely different industry sector. And we gave the example of video games or of algorithmic curated pizza toppings as examples. And finally, we did talk about examples for how the very economic offerings, so the products and services that firms create, are being digitally infused or converted or augmented, and how that changes the very nature of the product and how that changes some of the product management strategies. One of the examples there was how different a classical car management process such as recall operates if you have Volkswagen or Ford cars, or if you have a digitalized Tesla car. I brought three examples that illustrate this point. When we think of a digital company, we of course think of companies such as Apple, for example, a company that traditionally built computers like the MacBook or the Apple II, or even later the iPhone. But of course, much of that success came through digital components such as the iOS store and the platform ecosystem they created around this. If you want to go a little bit closer to home, one fascinating case study is that of Vorwerk, an industrial engineering company from Wuppertal, of all places, that for many decades were incredibly successful with high-quality engineered vacuum devices, which you can see here, but that have successfully made the transition into the digital world because, for example, they now not only provide and sell very successfully autonomous digital smart vacuum robots, but also hybrid products such as the Thermomix, which is both a cooking device made of steel with steel blades and that you can heat and cook, but that comes together with an online platform, Cookidoo, which is a recipe creation and sharing platform that can talk, mediate between users, recipe designers, and the cookie machine that can then create these recipes. Or a final example would be how when you look at the car manufacturing industry, Volkswagen, BMW, Daimler, and others, and how they respond to digital entrants such as Tesla, and now begin building more autonomous, more electrified, and more digitalized cars that force the manufacturing practice to become vastly different, both from the combustion engines to an electrical motor, but also, and importantly, on the software side. So developing new algorithms for control, for vision, for steering, and so forth. The second part we covered in the lecture last time was then that we went through the changes that characterize what is called the advent of the digital age. So the point in time and the changes that came about since about 2006, 7, or 8, so over the last 15 years, and how that gradually moved into this digital age and the digital age competition and market environment that firms face now, and that is quite different from the ones that they faced in the future, even though we already had digital technologies and information technologies available for several decades. And 5 trends that we discussed that characterize this digital age is, number one, the advent of mobile computing, so the unparalleled diffusion of mobile computing devices such as smartphones or tablets that really reached true computing power and true internet connectivity, and really made computing ubiquitous, so anytime, any place, anywhere, by anyone. With that came an unprecedented growth in social networking and human connectivity on the platform through platforms initially such as Facebook, and these days more through Instagram, TikTok, WeChat, Chat, Snapchat, or similar types of networking platforms that connect not only millions, but literally billions of people on the planet. Third, the advent of big data. As more and more activities, events, and experiences moved online and occurred online, we have created an enormous pool of digital trace data, big data, in unparalleled and unprecedented volumes that capture at a very granular level aspects and activities and events in the human existence that is now available to be analyzed, processed, and utilized by firms and of course other people as well, to understand better value creation and capture. Fourth is the advent of the Internet of Things, so a term that characterizes that since about 2008, the most common users of internet technologies and networking are not humans anymore, but are connected digital, electrified, or even smart objects that have begun to outnumber the human population about the same time that we had mobile computing starting to emerge about 2007 or 8, and are now vastly outnumbered. So this is important because the internet is now an infrastructure that is mostly used by things that talk to one another, that exchange data, that learn from another, that do certain things. And the final trend is the rise of artificial intelligence. So very simply put, the rise of capabilities in digital objects, software, hardware, devices, and other types of connected artifacts that are capable of doing some things in an increasingly autonomous fashion. So that are intelligent in whatever understanding you want to appropriate to that, but that are certainly more and more capable of doing this. And with this, we've seen an increase and an exponential increase in investment and an exponential increase of provisioning and capability, of course. And all these 5 trends together characterize this now digital age that firms face, and where the focus of this lecture lies in understanding how traditional management practices around technology and around, in particular, innovation practices in processes, products, or services of an organization will change.